So, what is an AVR? Why do I need one? Do I even need one? What are the brands? What are the price points? How do those brands compare with one another? This is going to be a three-part series all about AVRs, and we're starting right now. Hi, this is Sounds Good, and I'm Anuj, and this is the space where we talk about tech, gadgets, hi-fi, how to get great sound performance from your home theater, from your music system, how to set it up, how to calibrate it, all that and much more. And in case you're new here, consider subscribing. Hi guys, so this is the part 2 of our three-part series introducing the AVR to you. In the part 1, you already saw what is an AVR, what does it do, what is its role in a home theater rig or in a home theater setup? Why is it important for you to have an AVR if you're serious about sound quality and about accurate sound reproduction in your home theater setup? We also saw in the part 1 how an AVR compares to a home theater in a box or an HTIB. In this part, which is the part 2 of the series, I'm going to familiarize all of us with the layout of a typical AVR. I have a Marantz SR6013, which is the brains of my current home theater rig. Pulled that out, I've pulled out all the connections, and I'm going to show you that as an example of a typical AVR. Depending on the model that you buy, whether it's an economical series or a premium series, the number of connections, the features will keep on differing slightly, but this being a mid to premium segment AVR is going to give you a fair enough idea of what kind of connection options exist, and I'm sure your own AVR is not going to be drastically different from this one, irrespective of which brand you've bought it from. So without much further ado, let's dive straight in. So this is the Marantz SR6013, which is one up from its entry-level model. Volume knob on the right, source selection knob on the left. This is the key mark, trademark Marantz central display. You flip down the front access tray. On the left, you've got a 1/4 inch headphone jack. You can plug in your headphones. Next to that is the input for the Odyssey mic. This is the Odyssey microphone. It comes threaded with a hole, so you can mount that on a tripod. Place this microphone in your main listening position where you would sit, and then plug this microphone into the input jack provided. Next to that is the USB to plug in your thumb drive. Next to that is a front HDMI input. In my opinion, very important to have a front HDMI input. Yamaha for some reason abandoned it. Finally, next to that, you've got the 3 composite inputs, which is for plugging video on a fly. You could be having a handycam that you're still using, and you may want to on a go plug that into the front inputs of an AVR. Come in quite handy. Not all AVR models have it. Now let's move to the back of the AVR. I know it's a very busy bag. There's a lot going on here, but don't you worry. I'm going to take you through it section by section and make it very easy for you to understand all of it. So first, right up top and middle, we have all of these 7 HDMI inputs. You can plug in your devices like your cable box, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever have, gaming consoles, media players, and so on. This model has 8 HDMI inputs. As you remember, you saw 1 on the front and there are 7 at the back. Next to that, you've got 3 HDMI outputs. 2 of these are for main zone. So main zone is your main home theater room. It could be your living room or wherever your home theater is placed. Why do you have 2 outputs? Well, you may have a TV for certain viewings, and then you may, for a sports event or for movie viewing, you may want to have a projector also installed within your home theater. Then you've got the third output, which is for Zone 2. What is Zone 2? If you ask, it's a beautiful feature that many AVRs these days support. It could be your second room in your house. It could be your bedroom, your kids' room. That TV will also get fed signal by this AVR. You just need to run an HDMI cable from this AVR to that TV. You see right on the corners on top on both sides, you have these 2 threaded ports. These are for you to plug in the supplied antennas, screw on like this. These antennas are required for better reception of Wi-Fi as well as Bluetooth. In case you don't want to go in for Wi-Fi, you have a proper network port here also next to the HDMI inputs, wherein you can plug your network cable or your RJ45 adapter. Then on the top left, next to the antenna, you've got coaxial inputs. These are digital audio inputs. So you've got 2 coaxial inputs, and then next to that 2 optical inputs. Many TVs have optical out. So you take 2 names for the same thing, a Toslink or a SPDIF cable, plug it between your device and your AVR to transfer audio digitally. These are digital audio inputs. Below that, you got some of the service ports. These connections are also used in case you're using a home automation system. Next to those service ports, you've got something called as signal ground. Well, let's say you are connecting many devices and some of those devices, let's say a record player or another device, is producing a hum. What that device is seeing as ground is the earth spin. And what this AVR is seeing as a ground, there is a potential difference between the two. In case it is getting too technical, I can delve into that on a separate video. Let me know in case you would want something like that. But basically, we connect the ground cable of the LP or any other device into this signal ground. That way both the devices, AVR and the other source device, will see the same ground. We can get technical on this, but that is beyond the scope of this particular video. Moving on from there, you see a remote control in and out. What is this? Let's say you've got several devices, external amplifiers and so on, daisy chained to this AVR. You need to turn on only one device and all of the following devices in the signal chain should turn on automatically. For that to happen, if AVR has to turn on the command from any other device, you have a remote control in, and if AVR has to in turn on some of the other amplifiers or other devices down the line in the signal chain, then there is a remote control out for that. Just to give you a quick example, you have external amplifiers because you have very large speakers. Let's say that this AVR cannot power. You take remote out of this AVR into those amplifiers. The moment you turn your AVR on, the AVR is going to send 12 volt signal to those devices and all of those will turn on just by switching on this AVR. Hope that clarifies this. Then you've got several other video in and video out options here. In case your TV display does not by any chance support HDMI, then you can connect that by this video out. If you've got some old DVD players or CD players that have only composite connections, you know, those Y, PB, PR, those kind of connections, you plug all of those in here. On the extreme left in the next row, you've got the FM antenna and the AM antenna ports. Antennas are, by the way, supplied with the AVR. Next to that, you've got several audio input options. They are labeled as cable, satellite, DVD, but you can plug in any of those devices that do not support HDMI. The first and the most preferred way of plugging in any device, whether it is inputting signal into the AVR or whether it is taking signal out of the AVR in case of a TV. The first and the foremost preferred method of connection is HDMI. In case the device supports HDMI, by all means, that's the connection you want to go with. In case the device does not connect with HDMI, if you have a legacy device, then there are some of these analog audio in options. Those red and white RCA jacks, you can have tons of those devices plugged through this. This middle section I want to come to at the end. Let's move to the bottom first. At the bottom here, you've got binding posts for 11 speakers. So you've got 22 of these 5-way binding posts. What is the meaning of a 5-way? It accepts 5 different kinds of connection options. You can plug in a bare wire coming in from a speaker into this. You can plug in pin connection, a spade connection, a banana plug connection. All of those connection options are available, and they are gold-plated binding posts to prevent corrosion. This particular AVR processes 11 channels but powers only 9. But still, you can see that the speaker terminals are not 9. It powers only 9. It should have only 9 speaker terminals. No, it has terminals for 11 speakers. Why the 2 extra? To run zone 2 audio. So once again, going back to zone 2, a zone 2 can be another room, a bedroom, a kid's room, or it could be a balcony or a terrace where you may want to have party or music sometimes. So 2 speakers in that area can also be powered by this AVR as zone 2. And by the way, you can play same or different content at the same time in the 2 zones. So in your home theater, you could be watching a movie. Your terrace or your balcony speakers, there you could be listening to FM radio or Spotify. On the right hand side, you've got the standard IEC power connection. Right in the middle, I want to spend a little time here, and that's why I left it for last. You've got the pre-outs. What are these pre-outs? This is the most interesting second part. Let's say you've got difficult to drive speakers and your AVR is not powerful enough to drive those. Or today the speakers that you have, your AVR can very well power those, but the speakers that you may get in future may be audiophile grade speakers, maybe 4 ohm speakers, difficult to drive speakers. Or you're just not finding that the AVR is able to really drive the speakers to their full potential. Then you do not connect those speakers to the speaker terminals below. Instead, you take the pre-out. What is a pre-out? It is a pre-amplified out. So after the signal processing is done by the AVR decides it is a DTS signal coming in and I'm going to send actor's sound to this speaker or that speaker in a system. This one goes to the left surround, this one goes to the top surround, whatever that is. So that signal processing has already been done by the AVR. After that, the signal was supposed to be sent to the amplifier section. Thereafter, it would have come out of the speaker terminals. But if we take pre-out without that signal getting amplified, AVR gives us the signal to amplify ourselves with an outboard or a separate amplifier. That's what these pre-outs are for. If you have pre-outs for all the channels, that is great. I am going to cover that in detail in a future video. But ideally, you should look at having pre-outs at least for your front sound stage, which is your front left, front right, and the center channel speak. Those are your main speakers. That is where maximum amount of sound is going to come when you play a movie. At least for those front 3 speakers, you need to look at that your AVR is giving you pre-outputs for that. In this case, you can see my AVR processes 11 channels and gives me pre-out for all of those 11 channels. The other 2 in the middle are subwoofer output. These are real technological marvels, these AVRs from whichever manufacturers. Quite a bit going on in there. And as I always say, these are indeed the brains and also the heart of your home theater system. Always try to see that when you are out in the market to buy an AVR, if you're running on a tight budget, wait a little bit more, can maybe save a little bit more and go for a slightly bigger, slightly better model. So that's all about the layout of a typical AVR. Hope you've enjoyed this content. If you've liked it, thumb it up. That helps a lot with YouTube algorithm. Share this with your colleagues, share this with your friends and fellow hi-fi enthusiasts. That would help a lot. Do let me know down in the comment below. In case you're new here, #new is the comment you want to leave. In the next episode of this series, we are going to discuss the brands. What are some of the manufacturers that you can look at that are worth considering when you're shopping for your next AVR? And finally, I'm going to be giving you some buying tips. And those buying tips are the most critical ones, so stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss those. So do you have an AVR or you're planning to buy one? I would like to hear from you. Do comment down below. What else would you like to see me talk about? What other content would you like me to make? I would like to hear from you. So let's hear from our hi-fi community. This is Anuj. Sounds good. See you in the next one.